Hello, everybody. Dallas Trombley here. I'm down at one of my favorite places to ever go since I was a kid exploring the woods in New Baltimore. It's a place called, I've seen it spelled a lot of different ways in some of the history books, Barrent Island or Barren Island, or most people probably would know it best as Briggs Island, which is just south of Coeymans and north of New Baltimore. I'm here with my old friend Jake Colwell.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you. Happy Sunday. Got me up at 6 o'clock in the morning to come down here, but it's good because we got the sunrise.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So Barren Island is, or Briggs Island is on basically it's on the north shore of the Hannacroix Creek. Locals might know it where the filtration plant sort of is around here, but so this island comes up a lot in the history, some of the history books, the Beers' History of Greene County. One of the oldest references to this island was to an entrepreneurial man.
I love this story. This is great.
It's great. He got a cannon from someplace, and he put this cannon at the tip of this island, and he would charge sloops, basically protection money, to come up and down. You know,
It is the highest point up and down the river for miles in both directions. And I've heard that it was also a strategic advantage point in the French and Indian War.
I could see that. Yeah.
This was an island at one point before the dredging, so it truly was not. Now it's not. Now it's attached.
Right.
This side we've got the river, but that side it's actually attached to the mainland. But before they dredged here and filled in here, this was truly an island. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the dredging. So they, you're going back. The Army Corps of Engineers would ensure that the channel was 30 feet deep. Probably not as deep as that back, when it was just sloops and stuff. But so they would go through and take as much silt out of the bottom of the river as possible. These alluvial deposits, they would call it, and they would put it on land. And a lot of these islands now became peninsulas. Greene Island and Troy. Yeah. I always thought, and I hope I'm not giving away millions of dollars here, but Captain Kidd did have treasure, and he knew he was going to get arrested, and he buried some of his treasure on Gardiner's Island on Long Island as a negotiating tactic, which didn't work. They did execute him, and then they went back and got some of his treasure, which I'm sure he gave him the location under duress. But he was known to go up and down the Hudson River, and they never found the rest of his treasure. Now, a treasure is heavy, right?
Sure.
So you're going to take it off a ship. You're not going to bring it up to the top of a mountain. You're going to put it maybe on the other side of an island that's not facing the river.
Tuck it away.
Tuck it away.
Yeah.
But now with the dredging, oh man, it could be right under the thruway.
I mean, you could access the far sides of these. If it's elevated, I don't know. It's interesting.
Right.
And there are cool little tucked in caverns along this back side.
Right.
So, yeah, who knows?
So maybe we'll find that, Jake. Yes. So anyway, so finally then somebody in authority came with a couple more cannons and took that man's cannon away so he couldn't charge. And then I guess the other interesting little aspect about this, so the Hannacroix Creek divides Albany County to the north and Greene County to the south on the west bank of the river. Adrian van der Donk was a guy from the Netherlands. He wrote a history of New Netherland. He was Kilian van Rensselaer's agent in the New World. So Kilian van Rensselaer, they put together this sort of model of land ownership / corporation that was called a patroonship, and he bought
everything on that side of the river.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, so Van Rensselaer and Van Rensselaer Park and all that up there.
Exactly, right.
Okay, yeah.
And so he didn't want to come over here because he was very wealthy and had a nice life over in Holland. So he sent his agent, Adrian van der Donk, to come over. And this guy was more interested in writing about the birds and the trees and the stuff. And he saved up some of his money, and then he bought his own patroonship, or at least a plot of land, starting at the Hannacroix Creek and going south, and some of it on this west side, but other of it on the east side, until what is now Manhattan, just above that. And he lived there, and he was a country squire, and the term for that at the time was a jonker. And it just became associated with him. That's Jonker's land. That's Yonkers.
Okay.
And that's how you get the name for Yonkers. They're just above New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's kind of cool. But I mean, that's ancient history, kind of, compared to I would say the relevance that this island has had maybe in the last century and 20 years.
Okay, yeah. So the Briggs family have been the stewards of this island. That's why most people, like you said, know it as Briggs Island. If you know our grandparents who grew up around here, that's how they would know it. The grandfather of the current steward, Paul Briggs, his grandfather was an iceman.
He was a nice man.
An iceman. I don't know if he was a nice man actually. That I don't know. His family's very nice though.
Oh, good.
He was an iceman. He had a bunch of ice houses up and down the river. You can actually see, not right now because the trees are overgrown.
Don't face away from that mic.
Right. There are remnants of some of the old ice houses right across the river.
Like a chimney you'll see every now and then just coming out of the...
Pretty cool. There's a couple of them, and he owned a few of those in the late 1800s. And then when he saw the writing on the wall that electricity was coming and ice wasn't going to be needed as much anymore, he sold the ice houses, and right here in Selkirk built the first electrical company for this area and brought electricity to New Baltimore, Coeymans, Ravenna, and southern part of Albany.
That's interesting. I feel like there's so much interesting stuff about that. One, that you could form your own electrical company, right? Because what comes first is the innovation, then comes next is the regulation, right? So at first you're just, oh, this is a great idea, as electricity, you know, and then probably at some point everything got, I'm just imagining, you know, sort of monopolized until you had gigantic. Then you had you know, the Public Service Commission and stuff would come later.
Sure. And I mean, he was, you know, wealthy men do what they want in this world, and he was a relatively wealthy man with the ice business. He was an innovator, though. I'll give him, you know, there's some cool stuff that he did here, like right over on that part of the island. So he bought this island, not for industry, but really he loved it and he thought it was beautiful, and used it for his family. But then it became, he called it a picnic area, and he started setting up like dance halls, and he just got excited with what he was doing, and he put in a steam-powered merry-go-round and a steam-powered Ferris wheel and a fire tower. And he started charging admission, and ferries from the city would park along here. He put in docks down there, and ferries of people would come up and spend their weekends up here and picnic here, and have events. But he did some pretty cool, innovative stuff, like late, 1890s. He had, in this dance hall, he put bathrooms inside the building, and back then that was like unheard of because you don't want to smell what people are doing in the bathroom. But he put in these long chimneys from that had vents underneath the toilet inside the latrine area, and those long tall vents that went up like 30 feet in the air, as wind blew or like just different pressures, it pulled the stench out of the bathrooms. And that was pretty clever at the time. That's pretty innovative. So
like a mix of an organ and when you would blow on a bottle to make that noise.
And that just like pulled the smell out. So that was something that, I don't know if that was his idea, but these were new ideas that he was incorporating, the steam-powered stuff, you know. And so this was a cool hangout for people from the city. Locals would host events here.
There's some great pictures of this island. So I don't know if there was a statewide thing, but in 1776, I noticed like Coeymans and New Baltimore both put out these white books with blue lettering. That's like the bicentennial marking, but it's like the history of our town. And the one for Coeymans has some pictures of a lot of people coming up either from Catskill or Kingston or down from Albany. It's got the old fire tower on it.
Fire tower,
so that's
cool.
It's really cool, you know? And really drives home the fact, I mean, so we're within pictures age. I'm getting the impression this was like maybe the early 1900s.
This is late early 1900s, and this was a successful, I don't know if it was really a business venture. I think he just kind of liked to share it with people.
Right.
Probably made a little bit off it, but until the 1920s, when a couple things happened. There were some clashes with the locals and the visitors that started to happen.
Okay.
I guess there's a cool story you could read about where a local kid tried to, and his crew tried to jump on one of the ferries that was he wanted to go to the city.
Oh.
But he didn't have a token to get on it, and there was a scuffle, and that became a problem. And And then, financially, the whole country got in trouble there.
Right, the end of the 20s,
Yeah,
right?
the end of the 20s, and that was kind of the end of this being, and then there was a fire. Then there's also a big fire here, and then just rebuilding it never happened. But to think that at one point, so in that dance hall, there were stored handmade wooden Ferris wheel horses.
Carousel horses.
Carousel
Yes.
horses, excuse me, carousel horses, with the glass eyes and the real horsehair and all these different things that were handmade in this big. You can see all the pictures of the old structure. I maintain the land for the family. I'm kind of like a distant relative, but I found these like huge old stakes, steel, probably iron stakes that held the Ferris wheel.
Oof.
When I'm mowing, I've come across them and I've kept them because they're pretty cool.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, well, that'll mess up your mower, huh?
Yeah, yeah. No, it did actually. It did, yeah.
Which I guess, do you know, is that the same Briggs from like Briggs, like, machines, like tractors and things?
Briggs and Stratton?
Yeah.
No, I don't know if that is related, but they're definitely, like, if you come across Briggs, you'll find bricks that say Briggs on them. In fact,
right.
he did ice, bricks, bluestone. You gathered bluestone from local quarries and you typically sold it to the city. But you'll find Briggs bricks around. We built a fire pit over here using them, and so it says it all out.
Yeah.
So the family still comes and visits. Most of them live in other parts of the country, which is why I'm the maintenance guy. I take care of the place and get to use it. But
yeah. It's funny, all those things, ice, right? You could just live here, wait for the water to freeze, and get your ice. Bricks, because it's all this alluvial land, the same stuff that they're dredging out.
Could use it
you
to
can
make
make bricks,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I mean, and the bluestone is just found here,
here.
in this geological area. So that's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool.
It is.
My grandfather used to work on the ice, harvesting the ice, and it's funny. It's like, why would you have a chimney? And it's because the river used to freeze like 3 feet thick, and they would have teams of horses with big saws. My grandfather would still get almost teared up in his 80s talking about being out there, and they'd lost a team of horses because it fell through the ice. And that's one thing to think about, but if you imagine like what that must have looked like and seen, and everybody scrambling to help these horses who they probably knew, and it cost them a lot of money to lose them. But you have you would have the chimneys because they would have like a steam engine in there as a big conveyor belt to pull these things.
Oh, okay.
Like on a sled, and then they had to bring them up.
Okay.
And he used to say, and I was up at Yanni's yesterday, and we were talking about how that building was an old ice house. You'd have these you'd dig down a little bit, but it would just be these clapboard, no window buildings, and they would put sawdust between each layer.
Yep.
And then
Keep it packed.
keep it packed, and the boats would take it down to New York City. And my grandfather said it would last until August. They would still have some ice.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's hard to believe now with how warm it gets in the summertime.
Yeah.
that these blocks of ice just shoved in sawdust, just like insulated with sawdust would hold. But
I know.
It's pretty cool.
It's crazy. Great. Cool. So, Jake, any other stuff that you want to talk about on the Islander?
So it used to be Barren Island, and
Yep.
it's not Barren anymore. We have a lot of trees here.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned, there was talk of this being, I haven't found anything, maybe you have, do some research, that this was a strategic point for the French and Indian War because it's so high up compared to everything around it. And
a bit of a turn here too in the river,
Yep. It's at a turn. Now it's just kind of a beautiful piece of land that I feel very fortunate to get to maintain and spend time and work on my various boat. I'm like you, boat projects constantly. I've had a couple of sailboats here that we built docks in the cove over there. My buddies and I we used to call ourselves the Hudson River Hillbillies, the Hudson Hillbillies, and we would build all types of rafts and stuff.
Yeah. What kind of a weirdo builds a raft on the Hudson River?
Yeah. And your boats, Dallas, you brought yours over here, and we've worked on them here.
That's right. Yeah, 2018. Because I wanted to be able to test out the boat in the water. The idea was build it here and then ship it out to Pittsburgh. So I was so fortunate to be able to have Jake's help here. That one floated on like a bunch of 55-gallon drums from that wasn't the ones from the tomato sauce factory. Those were from the car wash.
Okay.
And so I kind of duct taped them and then plexiglass them together. But they were big and huge, so we put them down there built like a deck across it.
Remember the double rudder riggings that we hooked up there, which we were toying with it. I don't know how well it functioned.
Yeah. Well, all of it functions on land, and then you put it in the water and it's got the water resistance. It's like, darn, that didn't work out so well.
A little different.
A little bit different.
Well, we like to learn things
on the fly.
on the fly as we go.
Yeah. Well, there's a woman somewhere in Ohio who's happy because the center hull of that boat, which was a rowboat, sank at Shawnee Park, just south of Portsmouth, and they picked it up out of the water because it was a navigation hazard. Now she's got it in her pond as like a flower garden, so she's happy. All's well that ends well. I guess just one other thing kind of cool about New Baltimore, while we're talking about New Baltimore history, I came across, when the Erie Canal was built and they'd have them on the barges, they would either take a barge down or they would load them onto sloops, but things were really shifty and shallow between New Baltimore and Troy and Albany.
Okay.
So right down, I guess, where the boathouse is, there's a bit of like a cove, and right after New Baltimore, the water got substantially deeper. So a lot of times they would bring like 2 sloops down, and at New Baltimore, they would transfer everything onto 1 sloop, and then it was deep enough then to go all the way to New York City without having.
Wonder if that's why the hamlet kind of became a thing for a little while.
I think so. Yes, and Baldwin, Sherman and Baldwin, I think they had a boat building works right at the bottom of kind of where Cornell Park is up there, where Nils Backlund used to have his house.
Yeah,
there's that launch.
Yeah, that's an old. God, you can see that the structure of that old launch behind his place is quite old.
Yeah, really old.
Yeah, it's such a cool spot down there. Like the whole town, like the hamlet, kind of all sits up on the hill, but then it convenes and comes down to that lower area where it's just river height. The land is, and so clearly that would be a good spot for boat building.
Good spot for boat building, and there's a beautiful brick house down there. I don't know who owns it, but that used to be the Eagle Tavern. And people would go there
Sure. Boat builders need a place to go.
They need a place to go, right? And so do the locals. Yeah, right. And it's a beautiful building. I'm like, that was a tavern. My goodness.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Cool.
So what are you doing now, Jake?
I was a teacher for 15 years.
What did you teach?
Physical education.
Cool.
K through 12. Locally, I was at Rensselaer, and then here at Coxsackie Athens High School. I still coach. I coach I think I got my coach cup. Track and field and cross country. Having a lot of success there, helping kids, maximize their potential on the track. And but for work, contracting business. I run a company called Varsity Residential Services. We do painting, light construction, pool building and maintenance. And actually, we might be dipping our toe into building our first home.
Okay.
I got a client that really wants a home built, and I'm gonna kind of be the general contractor for it.
Nice.
Meeting with a bunch of local small businesses, plumbers, electricians, framers, concrete guys to try to get that done. A house right down the river, on 4 Mile Point between Coxsackie and Athens.
Yep.
Another similar, like, beautiful little spot on the river, and it sits low. So we might be building a house right there on the river in the next couple of years.
Cool. I would love to be a GC, man. I mean, I think it's got everything that you want. You're building. You're working with different people. You got to figure things out.
Yeah, I love the challenge of learning something new. That's why I added the pools. Like, it wasn't challenging enough for me to be doing all the home stuff. Pools are cool because you're mixing electricity, plumbing, construction in a way that. A lot of elements. How do you interact with the earth when you're doing an in-ground pool? Yeah. Just, you know me. I'm like you. Like, what's my next challenge? Teaching, I loved it. It was great. I did it 15 years. I love the kids. Coaching's where I felt like I was really making a difference for the kids. Yep. But this line of work allows me to just constantly be challenging myself. Yeah. So awesome. And being outside. And yeah. And being my own boss. Today, I'm gonna bust my ass. Tomorrow, my guys are gonna bust their ass. There you go. Yeah, that's very I'm over 40 now. Maybe I'll try to dial back how much I bust my own ass. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's how. That was my general plan in life. Work as hard as I can, have 3 jobs and everything in my 20s and 30s, and then For sure, it's what we did. Right. Then when you only have 1 job in your 40s, it seems like you're kind of semi-retired, but you're still working a job. Oh yeah. Well, and I put so much time into coaching too. I love it.
And you know, and you've got a family and stuff too, which I
do.
don't
Yeah.
have.
It's a whole nother set of challenges
Yeah.
there, that time consumption, but
Yeah.
it's the best.
Right. Well, I have a family. It's just I'm the youngest one.
You're the baby.
I'm the baby. Can't you tell?
Yeah. Oh, buddy, I've known you for a while.
Yeah.
We know. Yeah,
I'm
you
no
would-
baby.
Buddy, we go way back now. I
Yeah.
think at this point we've been friends longer than we weren't, if you do the math.
Wow. Yeah. If you look at it that way, yeah. Jeez. It's also going back to really college, right?
Yeah. dude,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
And that's something like I've been realizing that with people who I met in my late teens, early 20s. I'm like, oh, you and I, we've had more years together than we had apart.
That's a great concept. I like that.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what a great note to end on.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Jake, it's been great talking to you down here on Briggs Island. And hey, if you like history, I hope you like this. And don't forget to follow me on my YouTube channel. If you hit subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.